speakerphone on there. Go ahead and call the February 21st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting to order. Confirmation of posting and roll call.
The agenda has been posted in accordance to Nevada Open Meeting Law. All members are present with the exception of Member Rudd.
Thank you. And was that pre-planned, did we hear? Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Boom, 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 boom. That will take us to our first initial public comment. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda. Any persons wishing to be heard at this time? Members of the public may participate in the meeting without being physically present by one of the following methods. Written comments. Do we have any written comments?
No.
Or to call in at this time at 702-589-9629. Hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the initial public comment period. Agenda item number 1 for possible action, approval of minutes of the October 18th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
A second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 for possible action, City of Boulder City matters pertaining to the zoning ordinance text amendment, AM 24-372. Mr. Mays.
Members of the Planning Commission, staff of the Community Development Department, along with the City Attorney, Public Works Department, and Utilities Department, came together to look at Chapter 39 in Title 11, which is what we refer to as the subdivision ordinance. These are the regulations for the creation of plat maps, tentative maps, and final maps in the community. A lot of what governs how we regulate and process those applications is through state law. As we were evaluating that chapter, we identified a need to clarify language within it. Also, we recognize that the timeline between approval of the tentative map and submission of the final map was not in line with state law. And so one of the things that we're proposing to change is extending that timeline from a 1 year to a 4 year to comply with state law. In addition, our code currently requires the completion of subdivision improvements within a 1 year time frame. This is no longer realistic in today's age when sometimes it takes a year to a year and a half to get material, and there's been delays in construction. And so recognizing that, staff is proposing that that timeline be extended to 3 years and also provides the opportunity for the city engineer or the public works director to extend that 1 more year if necessary. That, in essence, summarizes the main changes to Chapter 39. You have before you a resolution 1244, which would either approve these proposed changes to the Title 11 or recommend denial, or you can continue it. Because it is an amendment to Title 11, it does require a public hearing. And with that, I can answer any questions.
We'll open up to questions for Michael, if anybody's got.
Yeah,
Please, Ernie.
Michael, just for issues within that change. One is the text change on the reference to the master plan, I think is one item, and then the second one is, as you said, the timelines on the subdivision maps completion, basically.
Well, really, there are several cleanups with language. The proposed change from comprehensive plan to master plan is one of the examples, but you'll see throughout when terminology is no longer relevant, we've updated that, or for clarity purposes. We read through the language and we said, how is the customer reading this and can they understand it? And so we tried to clean that up as well. That's one main area of proposed changes. The second is the timeline between submission of the tentative map, approval of the tentative map, and then submission of the final map. And the third major change is to extend the timeline for construction of a subdivision.
Okay. Okay. With respect to the master plan changes that are, text changes that are in there, I believe, and of course we had this discussion, isn't it true there are other areas of the code throughout the code that also have some references to the comprehensive master plan, or is it only in this section?
There, as sections of the code have been updated, that's the opportunity to clarify that language. Bottom line is the city doesn't have a comprehensive plan, we have a master plan. And so for clarity, that's why staff is proposing that change. And so you're correct, there are other sections
Okay.
of the city code that still say comprehensive.
Okay,
And
so the one aspect of the text change by just taking, let's say, the word comprehensive out, is that it now makes it completely consistent with all aspects of the other code areas where it might be referenced.
It's getting in that direction. But as you note, there are other sections of the city code that still say comprehensive.
Okay, and so those won't be affected by this.
No, the only thing you're looking at is chapter
So
39.
the question I might raise on that, since this is the primary, isn't this really kind of the primary area where the master comprehensive plan gets addressed?
No, it's addressed in other areas of Title 11.
So what I'm getting at is theoretically, you could, in the language, basically address, let's say, in a statement that removes the comprehensive from the text change, referring to the master plan wherever it is used in the code, as just a way of making it consistent. So is it not possible to take in this particular area, and by just making a statement to the effect that in other areas where the comprehensive plan is referenced, that it shall there also, just as it is being removed here, just refer to the master plan?
That would require bringing all that before the Planning Commission. Through this agendized item, this is only looking at Chapter 39. The Planning Commission can't take action on proposed changes with other chapters of Title 11.
I recognize that. That's not the issue, but what I am getting at is theoretically that we could make perhaps a recommendation as part of the motion to approve, if that's the consensus, that might just indicate that there might be either a further change or that would address a way to, in just one spot perhaps, and maybe it isn't this paragraph in this particular part of the code, but you might be able to do it in an area that just basically puts a blanket statement that anywhere it changes, where the comprehensive is removed, that the same applies to other paragraphs. You know what I mean? I'm trying to, it would avoid the whole issue of trying to still have the comprehensive plan referred to in other areas text areas of the code, wherever that might occur. I'm just thinking there might be a spot where you could. So all I'm saying, if that made sense, we theoretically could just perhaps make a recommendation that might be considered either as a further future action.
Any actions by the planning commission in this meeting have to be tied to the agendized item. And the agendized item is consideration of proposed amendments to Chapter 39 of Title 11.
I understand.
So you can't make a recommendation to say the other areas should be changed too in the future. But certainly, it is part of the comments that would be contained in the minutes. Your desire would be reflected there.
Yeah, I think that in actuality, that's basically where I'm at. I mean, I think there is a way to, if it's not a recommendation, then it is a way to at least bring before, I'm hoping this would bring before the council, maybe a simple way to address it throughout the code. Now, so that would be, that's part of my discussion that I think was very pertinent. I think the other thing I think you have confirmed, and I just want to make sure of it, is that the comprehensive master plan is in fact the document that right now was created back, 03, something like that, and I think revised in a later year, minor revision. Is that not correct?
It was adopted by the city council in 2003 and has been amended several times since.
Okay,
But
so.
yes, that is the master plan.
Okay, so again, where I've had a significant concern is in changing that language to take it out. I was very concerned that what we are doing is creating what could be another document that could then be interpreted as different from that document. And so to avoid that possible interpretation, I would think, whether we can make a recommendation or not, but I would hope that council would consider adding a statement to the text change, which actually I'm not quite sure why we couldn't recommend it, that would just say and refer to the current comprehensive plan, even if it's not, doesn't have a number, that it at least has a date. So you could basically have added in this that the comprehensive master plan prepared or adopted or by resolution back in 2003, that it is now hereforth in all aspects of the code as the master plan. To me, that clearly defines the comprehensive plan that is being now just basically renamed. Now, I don't know, I think I'm hearing that we can't really make that recommendation. Is that true?
Again, your recommendation has to be germane to Chapter 39 of Title 11.
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Please go ahead.
I just want to address this. Michael, tell me if I'm wrong, but on any type of amendment, the council, even if we speak about it, which is not under our purview as planning commission members, but the council cannot adopt a different text amendment other than what the planning commission was presented and approved, correct? It would have to start the process all over.
It would, yes.
And then just to speak to some of the housekeeping issues within the code, I think the biggest issue here is the time frame for tentative maps. So when you are making changes in the code, of course, you're going to do those cleanup housekeeping items while you're in there, because a code change that gets sent to the codifier, it costs money, and anytime you open up that chapter to make any changes, you do any housekeeping measures, to go through all of Title 11 to change comprehensive to master plan just for that sole purpose is frivolous and, in my opinion, a waste of time and money. You open up the code to make significant changes and do the housekeeping while you're in it. Maybe that helps clarify a little bit.
Please go ahead.
Wouldn't we also have to have anything like that on the agenda to meet the open meeting law requirements? We can't,
Anything-
we have to focus on is on the agenda. And
Correct.
We
You
can't go
could-
outside of that. In terms of entertaining that, it's a non-option right now.
Correct. You cannot make an action on that
I did
because it's
have
not
one-
agendized.
I did have one other clarification. Thank you. On the section G, where we're allowing, or it's been requested to allow staff to extend that time period, is that just within the 4 years, or would that be beyond the 4-year period? We have the 3-year period with the extension, and what you're asking for is to allow staff to approve the extension?
That is correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else for staff? Okay, we're now going to conduct the necessary public hearing. We'll open up this public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please come forward. Joe? No? All right, no takers. Anyone can call in at this time, 702-589-9629. Hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing. All right, we'll move back around for conversation or any recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, obviously, I raised probably most of my concern or questions as part of my discussion with Michael. But I think what I do feel we should consider it's difficult in one sense because apparently we are limited to only that one word change. In other words, I usually think when there's a text change, you can clarify what the word that's being removed can perhaps add. You can add words to perhaps improve upon it. But I guess what I'm getting at, that's not the case. So what maybe it's just for the record that we're doing this, but I really do have a strong feeling that it is very important when we leave the word master plan in there, and should we ever make changes again in other areas, that the specific document, the comprehensive plan, is referred to. I think that's key, so that there is no communication or consideration. Because the comprehensive plan, as we know it, is the top-level plan by which the city sets forth their long-term objectives for disposition, so to speak, and improvements to land as it exists. And if you adopt other plans along the way, including things like the land management, although it's a process, and also the strategic plan, which is a useful document, but it's I believe, a short-term way of dealing with immediate requests by developers or where city feels things need to be done, then to me, those are subordinate to the comprehensive plan, which is the only one that exists. And I think it's important because the comprehensive plan, for example, right now is what establishes the no growth or low growth considerations that council implements, as well as city staff. So I think it's important in making sure that when we eliminate that word comprehensive, that we're not creating a different theoretical plan. So by just going back, and if we had a way of just referring at least to the document as it currently exists, the '03 document, I would think that'd be appropriate. But I guess the point is, we can't, can we not add, for example, if we have a motion, can we not just add a recommendation in there that council consider that?
That wouldn't be the appropriate avenue to add it in there, and I think at this point, we've got enough notes taken that they will, through reading that, take that, and Michael, you've committed that if we ever address any other chapter, we will be doing the same housekeeping as well at that point, so.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I'm trying to find a solution here to meet that. Could we define that in section 11, one moment, 1139-2 under definitions? Is it so that it's within this same agenda item? Could we define that change, that those two words mean the same thing? Would that meet the concern that you have?
It would address it.
I don't know if we can
The
do
point is,
that.
Beth, it's a good comment, because there are ways to address this. I mean, whether.
I'm just trying to find a
But
solution.
my understanding is we're just still dealing with a one-word change. You can't consider anything beyond that, which seems ludicrous, but.
Well, you can make minor changes with your recommendations, but to Commissioner Crumb's point, if you significantly change it outside of the notice of what has been submitted, then we'd have to restart it. I guess in terms of adding a definition, a lot of people who read code are always concerned when you scatter definitions throughout the chapters instead of having them in Title 11. There is a section just on definitions. Ideally, it's only in one location, because I can just tell you from my experience working with codes for 30 years, you find the definition in one place and everybody forgets it's there, and then somebody creates a slightly different definition, adds it in another chapter, and now they conflict. I think the important point here is we want to make sure that it's very clear that when we're referring to the master plan, that there's no confusion. And the only reason staff suggested the change from comprehensive to master is if somebody were to read this code and go looking for a comprehensive plan, they're not going to find one. But we have a master plan. So that makes it a lot more clear to the reader. And that was our goal.
However, it still only has merit if you can refer to the specific document that exists, because it would be very easy to go off and do something else. Beth's point is also well taken, because, or said differently, you said something that was interesting, because I thought we were limited to just the actual word if it's not significant. So, in a sense, what defines significant? Because the addition of just putting a date in on what the comprehensive document is you're removing, that seems like a simple change. That doesn't seem significant. In fact, it seems like a necessary clarification. That's where I'm going.
That's problematic, because then every time the city council adopts an amendment to the master plan, then they have to come back and amend the code, because then it would not be in line with that specific resolution and date.
However, again, I go back to my premise. If you put it in one time, what the reference is of the document you're removing to the specific date of what exists, and you say that, and you can say either by definition or by reference in one place that it applies everywhere else in the code.
Would you like to, I will entertain a motion if you'd like to put that into the form of a motion so that we can vote on it. Otherwise.
Well, I
once
think the
again,
only
it's-
thing I'm not sure is, can we do something to that effect? Or is it, can we add that in a motion?
So just to clarify, you would be proposing that everywhere it references master plan in Chapter 39, it also refers to the date it was adopted by the city council?
I am saying that if you can do it in the top level paragraph, you would say that where we are removing in the word comprehensive to be replaced by master plan alone, that the document that remains in effect is the document that was adopted by council in 2003. So there's no number one, it accomplishes two things. It gives a blanket way of addressing wherever it occurred in the code. And at the same time, then it specifically nails down what the master plan is.
It's problematic because you'd be referencing the master plan adopted in 2003, which has been subsequently amended several times. So by that, it wouldn't be relevant anymore.
Yeah, but no, again, there's ways to write it. The simple way to write it is, and subsequent amendment, and subsequent amendments adopted by council. You know, it just, the latest being whatever the date, or not the latest. It just says, you put in a way to tie it down to a general statement of what the document is that exists and that is being, and that in some places was referred to as comprehensive is really just the master plan.
Well, again, just to be clear, where else it's referred to as comprehensive plan is not germane to your topic tonight and cannot be a part of your motion. So you can't put language in Chapter 39 talking about other chapters of the city code.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a recommendation. I move to approve Resolution 1244, which includes findings for a recommendation in favor of AM 24-372.
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Oh, we've got a nay down there. Motion carries. We will now move on to the final public comment period. Anyone wishing to be heard, please come forward. Anyone out there can call in to 702-589-9629. Hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close this final public comment period. Meeting adjourned. All right.